They say all politics is local. Our roundtable now, all national politics now local. It's Florida, Florida, Florida. You've got the man at Mar-a-Lago, of course, the president-elect. You've got Marco Rubio, who seems poised to be Secretary of State. We'll see who fills his post. We'll get to Governor DeSantis in a moment, as promised. You have Mike Walls, National Security Advisor. Some say, depending on what happens with the defense pick, Pete Hegseth. They could either go with Walls or DeSantis. Again, we'll talk about that. Pam Bondi, Attorney General Select. You're going to need brand new notebooks, gentlemen. Brian, you first, then Antonio. Florida, really, it's amazing. It's an embarrassment if you're a political reporter of riches. Sort it all out for us, what we can expect here.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is we're now the third, fourth largest state in the nation. You know, we're, as Antonio was talking about, we're a very, very heavy Republican. So it's not surprising that we're going to have a lot more influence on who's going to be in the administration than New York or Massachusetts. And that kind of influence is going to continue to grow over the years. So, yeah, I think Florida is going to be increasingly important politically in the years to come.
Of course, it impresses me, even as you speak, that a lot of people at home may say, wow, with all those power players from Florida, I don't care about their inside baseball. What's it going to mean to me, since I've got all these, basically, this home field advantage of so many Floridians there? What does it mean to them? Because we do sometimes lose sight. We love the inside baseball. People, bottom line, how's it going to help me?
Well, look, I think, first of all, I think we need to understand that to a certain extent, the Florida look to this administration isn't just because of Florida itself.
Sure.
It is that these are people that the president-elect feels very comfortable with.
Of course.
Pam Bondi is Attorney General. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. These are people that he has had around him now for a good 5-6 years. Remember, he's been a Florida resident now for 5 years. He's been here a lot. He's been living here. He's had contact with these individuals. He's a lot more comfortable with them. So it really says more about who the president-elect is comfortable with than what it really means to the average Floridian. I will say that when Marco Rubio at the State Department, I was at a conference this week in Coral Gables this past week, and there was a lot of talk that because of Rubio as Secretary of State, that Latin America, which is always kind of this afterthought in American foreign policy, in American foreign relations, it's always about Middle East and China, that Latin America, and particularly the hemisphere, and not just the questions of immigration, but the questions of investment, development, and so forth, is going to get a lot more.
Mar-a-Lago's calling Antonio.
Calling right now.
It's unbelievable. I told you it's going to be a busy few years.
So this region and South Florida being the gateway to the Americas, that we are going to be way more higher profile than in previous administrations and in previous decades.
Well, there could be some interesting pressure on Marco Rubio, though. It's one thing to be in the state legislature, as he was many years ago, and to be U.S. Senator talking about all the things that the country should do. Now he's Secretary of State, or going to be Secretary of State.
Well,
so actions that get taken in Latin America, in the Caribbean, South America, a lot of that's going to be on Marco Rubio now. So there's talk and there's action.
And there's the consequences and the criticism there.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, if you guys and everybody watching at home, circle January 10th on your calendar. That is the day that there's going to be the inauguration of the Venezuelan president. And if it is Maduro, if it is not the opposition leader, this administration walks into Washington with a crisis on its doorstep just to the south, that they, after talking tough about how they're going to restore American prestige, respect for this country, and this is a country already, Venezuela, and regime change under the first Trump presidency did not work. They may well have a challenge waiting for them when they walk in from Venezuela.
We can talk about so many things. I do want to get to Governor Ron DeSantis. Talk about, get your crystal balls and rub your hand over your crystal ball or your political notebook. Where's he go? What's the future for him? There's been talk about whether he could be picked as SecDef if Pete Hegseth's not confirmed. Ron DeSantis, the enigma or not?
Well, you know, I mean, you know, obviously the odds are he's going to run for president in 2028. We have no idea what the country's going to look like, you know, 4 years from now. And you can count in J.D. Vance and probably 25 other people in the Republican Party who want to run for president then. You know, he's going to have the typical complication of anybody who leaves the governor's mansion. You know, he's just a guy then, you know? I mean, I can remember years ago watching former Governor Bob Martinez get off a plane, and I decided not to go up and talk to him. I just wanted to watch him walk through the airport. Nobody even noticed him. Nobody walked up to him. And that's what happens. You wind up becoming Jeb Bush, running for president with everybody loving you, and he winds up standing on stage going, please clap. You know, I mean, that's not unusual so, you know, if he suddenly decided he wanted to appoint himself to Marco Rubio's Senate seat, I wouldn't be shocked. It would give him something to do for a while. But, you know, he's got to have to find a house for the wife and the kids in a couple of years.
Yeah,
so.
well, she might get busy running for governor.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he'll appoint her to the Senate.
Thoughts, Ron DeSantis?
Look, I think the biggest issue he's got is what we've been talking about, the embarrassment of riches, the deep bench that the Republican Party has. I mean, you could throw out 20 names. Remember in 2016 when they had like almost 20 Republican candidates running for it, and most of those people were people that were not familiar to the American public. This time around, when you get to 2028, well, you're going to have at least a dozen candidates who are going to be pretty familiar, at least to the Republican base. So I think the issue he's going to have in front of him is just a lot of competitors forget, even if you put aside the friction with Trump, which is a major question mark here.
Susie Wiles.
And Susie Wiles, that is a major issue. Even beyond that, even beyond that, you're going up against a deep bench.
What does it mean for Florida politics over the next 2 years? Bring it home in terms of Governor DeSantis, still there, obviously an overwhelmingly powerful Republican legislature. What do you want people to keep an eye out for in the upcoming legislative session with him at the helm and with those Republicans in control?
Well, some of the key issues that we've seen already that continue to vex the state: home insurance, what's going to happen with hurricanes and the hurricane fund and so forth. These are the same issues that were there on November 5th in Florida are still going to be there going into the session. And I think that, again, there's going to be a certain amount of patience that's going to be lost here if we don't get, measurable relief from the housing affordability issue, the hurricane insurance, the coverage, and so forth.
Izzo says the minority leader on auto insurance wants to tackle that, which be a long line of those trying to tackle that. Dems say they want to have some play. I guess ultimately it does, we can talk about it, but what you just said, it always comes down to what's happening to my pocketbook, my sense of my economic security and my physical security for me and my family. Those are the challenges in front of Florida and really the nation right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's January 1st when one of the laws that involve the structural engineering of condos that are over 3 stories tall. The enormous cost for some of these places. And it's becoming a pocketbook issue for a lot of people. Even if you start leveling out hurricane insurance, and Ron DeSantis really doesn't say very much about the hurricane insurance issues, but people are feeling it. I mean, if your insurance has gone up 20, 30, 40%, and next year it's only going to go up 2 or 3%, well, it still just went up 20, 30, 40%, and you're figuring out paying that, so you can't handle any kind of an increase. And I think that's going to continue to be a big issue for the governor going forward, because I think people are starting to get tired of the inaction coming out of Tallahassee on insurance issues. Your notebooks will be filled to plenty. You're getting your wish as great political reporters for the next many years at least. We'll have some closing thoughts from you gentlemen when we come back.